Now, the topic is how to increase your bookkeeping practice, your bookkeeping practice or your accounting practice profitability by 259% in a quarter of the time while getting your clients to do half the work. So with that, as I say, if you have any questions, you can use the chat box down below. If you can type a message in there, I'm monitoring that on a consistent basis here. And if not, you can text me at 403-630-1243. And one of the things that I thought about when I was doing this is, if you could work less, increase your profits, and get your clients doing some of your work, typically that's going to make you a happy person. And here's what I'm going to do is, before I jump into the presentation, I'm just going to talk is the bookkeeping and the accounting world is going to dramatically change over the next kind of 3 years to 5 years. And when I say dramatically change, like I'm talking like a massive change. And I get to this in my presentation, but one of the things that's facilitating this is something like QuickBooks Online. And QuickBooks Online, there's a bunch of apps that are being built that integrate into QuickBooks Online, which are going to absolutely change the way that you run your business. So before I jump into this, one of the things that I would say is, if you're not familiar with a lot of the apps, I would start looking at them and familiarizing yourself with them, because there are some huge opportunities, and there's going to be a lot of people that are slow to adapt to the changes in the marketplace. So this is a huge opportunity for you. And just the fact that you showed up today shows that you're willing to invest in yourself. So there's my little rant to begin with, I guess, or my dissertation, I guess. So if you stay all the way to the end, I'm going to give you a link that you can go to access over 6 hours of bookkeeping and accounting marketing tips. So now what I said is there is going to be no replay of this available for you to get at. But you know what? I kind of misled you. I'm going to put the replay up in this area here in this course, and you can enroll for free. There's over 6 hours of bookkeeping, marketing, bookkeeper and accounting marketing tips in this. So if you stay all the way to the end, you'll get the link for that. The next thing is I'm also going to show you an underserved market that you can potentially make hundreds of dollars per hour in, and it falls within the bookkeeping and accounting world. And it's something that is growing massively and very few people are taking advantage of. So we will, those two things are at the very end. I'll walk you through it. And that way, hopefully I can make you not only, more profitable, way more profitable. The fact is that with this one tactic right here, if you focused on it, it will give you a steady stream of business. So there we go. So there's lots of information in this webinar today. And as I said, there's no replay available unless you sign up for that marketing course. That's where I'll put that up in the next 24 hours. So take notes. If you have any questions, once again, text me 403-630-1243. I am here in Calgary, lovely Calgary, and we'll go from there. So who am I? I want to just kind of give you an explanation of who I am. I got 4 slides on this. Typically, I don't talk about who am I when I go into this stuff, but I thought I'd give you just a reference point. I am one of the owners of a company that has 2 platforms, Enter My Invoice and Bookkeeping Automation. What we do is we are an accounts payable platform that ties into QuickBooks Online, and we also tie into QuickBooks Desktop. And we are literally, I haven't found anything that competes directly against us on the QuickBooks Desktop app marketplace or with QuickBooks Desktop. So we have a huge market share that we could be going after that. So what happens is we take that whole accounts payable process, and I'll go into it today in the presentation, and we shrink it sometimes upwards of like 90%, which makes people way more profitable, do things in less time, which is the premise behind a lot of this stuff. So I am one of the owners of this company. And if you ever have any questions on what we do and how we can help you out, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be able to talk to you about that. The other thing too, I am a #1 best-selling author. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Jeffrey Gitomer. He's written like the little, what is it, the little black book of sales, little red book of sales. He's written 11 or 12 #1 bestsellers. A few years back, he reached out to me and asked me to contribute to his book, Social Boom. So I did. So nice thing about that is it became a #1 bestseller, and I was able to call myself a #1 bestselling author. The other thing too is I do have a book that will be coming out sometime in the next year. And it's actually on leveraging LinkedIn to find sales leads. So if keep your eye open for that, I'll get that information out. The other thing too is my background is sales and marketing. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper. I run a website called Sales Tip a Day. And if you go there, I don't typically put a tip up every day. I'm so busy nowadays, but I put 1 or 2 up every week on sales and marketing. Now, the nice thing about Sales Tip a Day is it literally is in the top 0.1% of all websites on the internet. That's how much traffic I get on this website. So great information there if you ever want to find out about how to do sales and marketing. And last but not least, I am a serial entrepreneur. I have owned several companies, sold out of a few, really, just like you, if you're a bookkeeper or an accountant, even if you work for a firm, typically, you know what, you are a entrepreneur. By trade, you got to find business, you got to go after stuff and everything like that. So there we go. That's me in a nutshell. So are you ready? Are you ready to learn and figure out more about how to make everything better in your world? So before we do this, I'm going to ask you a few questions. So think for a sec. What would you do if you could gain more hours in your day? So if you're working an 8-hour day and all of a sudden, your productivity increases and you're doing 50% less work, but still getting sort of the same sort of pay, or a quarter of the work. And in 8 hours now you've got 6 hours free. What would you do? You really need to think about what would I do. So this kind of comes back to also this Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week, right? Is how you're going to fill your time. If you take a look at the stuff I'm going to talk about today, you will gain time back. Which is your most valuable asset. So think about it. What would you do if you could gain more time? The other thing too is, what if you could increase the profitability of your bookkeeper or accounting practice? Working less, you're increasing the profitability. If you bring on more clients, you can readily grow your practice. There's a lot of potential opportunities if you can just increase the profitability of your practice. And last but not least, I love this slide. I found it online. I thought this was a great thing to show is, how happy would you be if your clients did a ton of your work for you? So, what if you could get your clients to do literally most of the heavy lifting for you so that you're spending less time working getting paid a premium for offering a service to your clients. So this is, I'm going to go through these 3 things today. So there's a way that you can streamline your business, work less, and get more money. So these are the 3 secrets we're going to go through. The first thing you're going to learn about is you're going to learn what you could do to increase your profitability 259% or greater with just implementing one thing in your practice. The second secret you're going to learn is how you can work, basically up to a quarter of the time and get the same amount of work done. Now, on top of that, towards the end, I'm going to show you something that you can do that will increase your hourly rate that you could bill out, and you do it in a heck of a lot less time. And it's something that's an underserved market as well. Secret number 3, I'm going to show you 3 ways that you can get your clients to do up to 50% or more of your work. So those are the 3 secrets that I'm going to go over today. So there we go. So the first one, what can you do today to increase your profitability to up to 259% or greater? So anyone, I don't know if anyone is online here. Like I said, we've got roughly between looking about 20 people that are on here. So we had about 60 register. So 20 people have showed up. I don't know if anyone's from Calgary and has seen any of my talks before that I do for Intuit. But some of these slides may seem redundant to you. But anyways, getting on to the point here. QuickBooks right now. QuickBooks is roughly, in North America, is roughly 80% of the marketplace for that small and medium enterprise space for accounting systems. The way things stand today, 90% of QuickBooks clients leverage or use QuickBooks Desktop. So here's where I'm talking about there's going to be a fundamental change in kind of the next 3 to 5 years. It might even actually happen quicker. In the next 5 years, Intuit predicts that 50% of their client base is going to be on QuickBooks Online. So they're going to go from 90% desktop down to 50% desktop, 50% online. When you look at this, the growth of QuickBooks Online is going to be a 500% growth rate over the next 5 years. That is a tremendous growth rate. Now, when you look at this, as I said before, if you've been watching since the beginning, one of the things that QuickBooks Online is doing is they are facilitating gains in productivity by opening up their app store. So QuickBooks Online, the way I view things is QuickBooks Online it's like a hub. It's kind of the engine that gets stuff done. So it's the accounting system, but they've built the apps.intuit.com. If you go there, you can see the different apps. There's a whole bunch of apps that tie into QuickBooks Online that are going to increase productivity, get things done faster, automate a ton of things. So what you have to do is you have to look at this and start to embrace this, because one of the things that you're going to do to increase your profitability is you're going to have to start looking at automating your clients and your practice for your clients, depending on specific apps that are in there. So for example, as I said, there's a whole bunch of different apps, and I didn't want to take it just to have our apps being the ones that are listed here. You know, I got T-Sheets, I got Pluto, you've got Bookkeeping Automation, you've got Enter My Invoice, you could have Dream Payments, you could have, you know, even some of our competitors, Receipt Bank, HubDoc, stuff like that. You can have a ton of these tie into your clients. So you don't have to necessarily use, for example, you don't necessarily have to use Bookkeeping Automation for your clients if Receipt Bank or Expensify or something like that's going to work for them. You know, you don't have to necessarily use Pluto if Dream Payments is going to work for them. So you have a whole bunch of options available for you. But the interesting thing about this is that QuickBooks Hub is going to facilitate that whole automation piece that's going to happen in the marketplace. So with that said, is once you start automating, and I'll talk to it specifically in our world, you start to reduce, 80% plus of that workload, or reduce up to 80% plus of the workload that you have. So yeah, hey, guest 4789, there should be sound. The sound is on. If anyone else can't hear me, I'm sure other people can hear me. Because there's still people online. But, check your speakers, turn it up, see what you got going on, but there should be stuff. From what I can see with my platform, I see the speaker or the sound indicator showing that it is actually working. So you might want to just refresh your page as well, just in case. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Just give me a sec, guys. I'm going to go into... I said refresh your page if you can't hear. So there we go. Anyways, this whole thing with this automation of everything, it's going to reduce the amount of work that you have to do, upwards of 80%, sometimes even greater. So this is where you start to see more profitability come in. So I'll take, for example, like let's look at our platform, Bookkeeping Automation. And once you implement it, there's huge savings. But let's take a kind of a current place, right? Let's just say you've got a client. So this is hypothetical. You may do things faster, you may not. I don't know. But anyways, you've got a client. You're doing. They have like 200 invoices a month on average. You're doing 10 invoices per hour. That means you're working 20 hours. If you're charging out at 30 hours per or $30 per hour, that means you're getting $600 per month from this client. Now, afterwards, so for example, when you take in our platform, bookkeepingautomation.com, so let's say you start scanning stuff, and I'll get into other ways that you can put stuff into our system in a little bit here that'll help expedite processes and automate a lot of this stuff. But when you do the scanning, if you have 200 invoices and you're scanning, we use the Fujitsu Snap Scan, was it 500 or 1500? 500. Literally to do 200 invoices, you could get that done in like literally 23 minutes to get that done. Your time savings, once you start to automate this whole process that you're doing, if you reduce it by 75%, that means you're now working 5 hours. So you put 5 hours in the scanning together, you got 5.4 hours. Your cost at $30 per hour is $162. The cost for using our platform is $70. So your total cost all in is $232. Now, here's where your additional profit comes in. If you charge your client $600, you have $368 of new profitability. So you're working less and you're making the same amount. You've in essence increased your hourly rate if you wanted to on this one, or increased your profitability. And the increase in profitability is 259% given this scenario. Now, here's the other thing. If you have clients that are using credit cards and bank statements, if you're not using QuickBooks Online, you haven't hooked in their bank statements or their credit card statements, then our system will also allow you to take the scanned items and bring them in, or take a PDF and bring them in. And basically, if you have a bank statement, and let's say there's 20 line items per page, now you're going to be actually doing less scanning, which means you're going to save about $66 on the Enter My Invoice costs. Your profitability increases to $439, or basically 372% of increase in profits. So all of a sudden, now what you're doing is you're becoming more profitable. So here's the scoop. Within our system, you can set rules up as well, and you can start automating and saying, every time I see something like this from this vendor, if this applies, then keep this rule in place, keep this GL, keep this split, keep this cost center, keep whatever it is against this. And once you start doing that and you start bringing data in, so first of all, when you scan, you're getting rid of all the manual entry. Then what happens is you can bulk code against a bunch of line items from the same vendor. And then on top of it, you can apply rules to automate that. So what happens is this now all of a sudden takes a bunch of time out of that whole AP process. So then what happens is, now what you do is you go into a review process as opposed to doing the manual entry. So that's how you increase it. Now, the other time savings tips in regards to this is, if you can get invoices, receipts, bank statements, credit card statements in PDF format, it saves the scanning time. So you get rid of that whole scanning time, and that information just goes into the system, gets extracted, and lines it up for you. So you become even more profitable. So that's the first thing. The second secret that I'm going to talk to you about here is how to do work, or learn how to do work in a quarter of the time and get the same amount of work done or more. So as I say, if you leverage bookkeepingautomation.com, and you can get rid of 75, 80% of that whole workload, you're doing a lot more. So I'm going to give you just the process, and it's a fundamental change. Before, as a bookkeeper, you probably used to go to your client's office, or you'd have pick up their invoices or receipts. You'd sit down, you'd hand bond them, or basically type them into QuickBooks and get that information going that way. If you can automate this process, then you get way more time back on your plate. So how do you do this? So first of all, as I say, step 1A, scanning. Get the information and start scanning it and putting it into bookkeeping automation. Second, or if you have PDFs of invoices, receipts, bank, and credit card statements, you can import them into bookkeeping automation so they can be synced with QuickBooks Online or desktop. And then last but not least is you can actually take pictures of invoices or receipts and input them or email them into our system. We will have an app on this in the next 60 days and put them into bookkeeping automation. So there's kind of 3 ways that you get your data in. Then what happens is our system will extract all that information. So here's the difference between us and say HubDoc and like Receipt Bank, is that we extract line items against bank statements, credit card statements, against invoices, receipts, and everything. They don't. They actually just go at a summary level. We extract all the line items if you need to put it in there. So what happens is step 2 is that extraction process. You don't have to do anything. Our system does it for you. Now, let's say you have a client that is going to the same vendor over and over and over again. So in this case, they're going to Esso. What we could do is we could search on Esso, and what you do is you bulk code it to, say, that automotive GL. And instead of doing one Esso receipt at a time and bulk and coding it, you can do 50 at a time in our system. And then, if you've got 500, then basically you do first 50, then you do the next 50 up until the end, and massive time savings against that. And then last but not least is if you apply certain rules as it relates to a vendor. So when I say rules, what it comes down to is it's like, what are some of the, what are cost splits? What are, is there a cost center against this? Is there, what's the GL? What's this and that? Once you start doing that and you start applying these rules, our system just remembers it. And the next times it sees that receipt or that line item or whatever, it will apply that rule to it. And then long story short, what happens is this just becomes a review process. So once you start taking this stuff with the scanning, the PDFs, the images, you start doing the bulk coding and you start doing the auto remembering, what happens is you end up with a massive time savings, because really what it does is you get rid of all that manual typing, the coding, everything like that. And really what it comes down to is, like I said, it becomes a review process. So when you do that, what happens is you're getting 75, 80% of your time back or upwards of that. I don't say you get that. You might only get 50% or 40% of your time, but still you're getting time back on your plate. So you've got a huge opportunity to get that time back. Last but not least, I'm going to show you 3 ways that you can get your clients to do up to 50% plus of your work. So this is just a real simple way. And you know what? Clients are willing to do this sort of stuff for you. And there's a 4th tip in here that I'm going to talk to as well. The first thing is, if you could get your clients to take pictures of their invoices, their receipts. So for example, they go out for lunch. They go to Denny's. I don't know. You go to Denny's for lunch. I don't know if anyone goes to Denny's for lunch, but anyways, it's just hypothetical here. The bill comes, take the picture of it. And like I say, you email it into our system. In about 60 days, we'll have an app. It'll just sync right up with our system. It'll bring that data in. So you get your clients to start taking pictures of these invoices or these receipts. Then the other thing too is if you have clients that are sending PDFs in emails to you, what you can do is you can set rules up so that if an email comes into you from a specific supplier and it's got a PDF attached to it, what you do is you set that rule up so that if it sees that, it just forwards it to an email that we give you on our system. Our system will go in, extract that PDF, put it into the system, and then start extracting the data. Now, the other thing too that I should tell you is that on QuickBooks Online, because we have access to digitized copies of the invoices, we attach each of those into each entry on QuickBooks Online. So there's a digital copy that's in there. So that's another way you could get people to forward emails to you, or set rules up to forward emails. And you can do that if people are using Outlook or Gmail. Very simple to do those sort of things and put those rules in place. Last but not least is you can have your clients scan their receipts and invoices. And if they just upload it to Dropbox, Box, or OneDrive, our system can connect into each one of those systems, all 3 of those systems, and find any new invoices or receipts that are in there, bring it into our system and extract it. So that automates that process. And I'll give you an example in this case. So I live in Calgary. I'm dealing with a drilling company an energy services company in Calgary here that has a subsidiary in Saskatchewan. And their Saskatchewan office, instead of sending paper invoices, they were scanning all their invoices to go into their head office. So what we said to the head office was, why don't they still keep scanning it? We'll bring it into our system. We'll extract it, and that way you can sync it up with your QuickBooks system online. So that's one of the things that you do. So you get your clients to start scanning and putting their invoices in. So one of the things that I hear from people are, my clients won't do this. Well, you know what? Incent your clients to do this. Tell them if they start moving towards this, it makes you more efficient. You're willing to actually lower their price, and you'll still have more profitability. Even if you lower your price, you got a lot more profit to play with on this one. So, when you get your clients to do these three things, you start to automate your process. So if you start to, the information comes into our system, you start to bulk code, you start putting rules in place, you start automating this stuff. Literally, you're getting your clients to do about 50%, sometimes more, of your work for you. Once again, it becomes strictly a review process. It's not you punching information into QuickBooks. It's not you coding. It's not you doing any of that stuff. You can get your clients to do this stuff for you. It's phenomenal. Now, as I say, there's another tip that's associated with this. One thing that you find, and you may agree with me, you may not agree with me, but Pareto effect here, the 80-20 rule. Most of your clients will go to the same 80% of suppliers. 20% are probably new on a consistent basis. What you can do is, the stats out in the marketplace right now are that about 70% of invoices still come in paper format, which is absolutely ridiculous. If someone's using QuickBooks, Sage, any of these accounting systems, even if they're using Excel, get them to send stuff in a digitized copy, in a PDF format to you. So what happens is, you can, when you're working with your clients, you'll see clients that have invoices coming through from the same supplier over and over again. Start working at the biggest offender and work down. So ABC company starts sending you get like 50 invoices a month. Phone up ABC company and say, hey, I'm doing bookkeeping for this client. Can you send me a PDF copy of this invoice? And chances are they're going to say yes. Or you just simply say, from now on in, their rules are you're going to send a PDF invoice instead of a paper invoice. And then what happens is, you can take it, you can input it into our system, you can send it via email to us, you can do a whole bunch of different things. Anyway, long story short, you can get it into our system. Once again, then it starts to extract, it starts to code, and then basically it becomes a syncing job. When you do this, 80% of your job is done for you. So long story short, this is how you get your clients to start doing your job for you, or basically you get the vendors to send you the information so that all of this is done in advance. Now, one of the other things that we come up against is that we have clients that need to track their inventory. Because we can extract data at a line item level. So for example, you get an invoice come in, and let's say you have a client who's a restaurant and a whole bunch of line items come in. So lettuce, tomatoes, so on and so forth. You need to put that into inventory. I don't know, maybe this is a bad example. I'm not an accountant or bookkeeper, but just bear with me on this one. We can extract that data and sync it up with the inventory system on QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. So you no longer have to type that stuff into any of those systems. So this is a huge time savings for you as well. So just an added benefit of leveraging a platform like ours. So one last thing I'm going to show you before I get into some tips and tricks for you as well is an additional revenue stream for you. So I went to an accounting firm in Calgary here, and what they do is they scan all their clients' invoices and receipts for tax purposes, but they don't charge for it. Now, chances are they charge for it in some way, some roundabout way and stuff like that. But you know what? If your clients don't want to do this, then just tell them, send me your invoices, send me your receipts. I'm going to scan them. And then that way we can attach them into QuickBooks Online with a copy so that, a record is always there. The other thing too is our system will actually attach a link for a PDF in QuickBooks Desktop, should you have a QuickBooks Desktop client. So we can do it that way. Long story short, what you can do, this is an additional revenue stream. You charge them 25 cents a scan. I'm in Calgary here. Once again, I keep reiterating I'm in Calgary. There's a large company that does scanning services, and they're charging like 25 to 50 cents a page for scanning. No reason why you can't do this and get a revenue. So anyways, just to map this out, long story short, starting from the left, working right, scan documents, get PDF documents, take the emails, get the images. You can put them into Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, or you could directly input them into our system. And then from our system, Bookkeeping Automation, literally start to bulk code, start to apply rules, put the auto remember in place. Then it becomes a review process and you sync it with QuickBooks Online. And that's how you go about that. So let me show you the benefits. Once again, you remove massive amounts of time that you've had to spend typing information into a client's system. You're removing also keystroke errors. So 1 in every 80 keystrokes typically is an error. So our system is about 99.9% accurate. If it relates to if it's in a PDF format, the only time errors start to creep in is if someone's taking a picture on an image and they're skewing the picture a little bit. It creates a little bit of a problem, but because you actually have a copy of that receipt or invoice, you can go back to that source document and update it. Our system will also tell you if there's an error related to that. Now, the other thing too, you can apply common rules. You can apply rules to the different line items or vendors that you have. You can automate this process, which dramatically reduces time, and then it increases your profitability. So there you go. That's the whole process. So here's what I'm offering you. If you have not used our system before, you can get a 30-day trial of Bookkeeping Automation. And really what we're doing is we're offering you up to 1,000 pages, which is a value of $350 for free to use. Now, you can't use it against a bunch of clients. You only have to pick one client that you have to be able to do this. But if you have one client that has like 1,000 pages, we're offering this a free trial of this for 30 days so you can try our system out. So if you want to take us up on a free trial, you can call me 403-630-1243, or what you can do is if you go to bookkeepingautomation.com or enter myinvoice.com, either one, there's a free trial button. Click on it. If you are a bookkeeper or an accountant, select the option that says bookkeeper accountant down here. If you're a business owner sitting on here today, then select business owner because we have to set the accounts up differently in there. Get a 30-day free trial. So go to bookkeepingautomation.com or go to bit.ly/BA30day and you'll get it. So we have now gone through, can use HubDoc as well as Dropbox. So we don't integrate to HubDoc. We somewhat compete against HubDoc. But we've talked to Jamie over at HubDoc to try to work with him on stuff, and it hasn't gotten anywhere yet. And he's a good guy, so I'm not slagging HubDoc or him or anything like that. So Pamela, sorry, no, we don't work with HubDoc. We actually replace HubDoc is really what it comes down to in certain circumstances. They're good at certain things, we're good at other things. So so we don't work with HubDoc right now. Not that we're not willing to, but that's the way it is. So at the very beginning, I talked about the fact that I would show you a couple of things that can help you out, marketing tips, and also a area where you can increase your hourly rate. So here's the opportunity that I see in the marketplace. And once again, I gave a speech for Intuit back in January on this. So if you've seen this before, bear with me. We'll go through it, and then I'll get you through to how to get over 6 hours of marketing tips and tricks for bookkeepers and accountants. So in 2016, the federal budget included almost $500 million over the next 5 years to increase the amount of audits for tax avoidance and tax evasion. The CRA is predicting that it will bring in an additional $2.6 billion of revenue over the next 5 years, or basically $500 million a year. And the penalties were up tenfold from 2012 to 2015 from the CRA and all that stuff. So there's a huge opportunity if you started shifting your practice from, say, just doing bookkeeping, which you could still do, but if you start to put an emphasis on CRA audits and helping with CRA audits. So I'll give you an example of where we were able to do this, and you can bring this into your market as well. It is, we were working with a physiotherapist we were working with an accounting firm in Calgary here, who had a physiotherapist in Whitehorse who was audited from 3 years ago and 4 years ago on their from the CRA. And so what this person did was they went and got 2 years worth of bank statements. They also got 2 years worth of credit card statements. In total, this added up to about 2,800 line items that had to be reviewed and put forward to the CRA. So what we did was we brought this into our system. We allowed us to bulk code against a lot of the vendors and stuff that were going on in there. And we literally had it reconciled in 28 hours and synced up with QuickBooks. Now, the accounting firm said if they were to do this, it would probably take them anywhere between kind of 60 to 90 hours to get this done. So the 28 hours against 60 hours or 28 hours against 90 hours, we were literally doing it in half the time to a third of the time to get the kind of the heavy lifting done in prep for the audit side of things. And we probably would have got it done a lot quicker. Our James Elser, who is our kind of our technical guy, was the guy that was doing all the work in the background for this. And he had to go back to him quite a few times and ask him, who's this vendor? What do we code it? What do we do this? How do we do that? Had he had some intimacy with that client, he probably would have got this down to probably 20 hours or even lower. So the time savings would have even gone up higher from there. So what we did was we took the credit card and the bank statements, we extracted it into our system. Then what we did was we sorted by vendors and we bulk coded against all this stuff. And in the future, actually, because these guys are going to use our system now, we actually applied rules against this as well, so that if it sees it in the future, it will be able to recognize these things. So here's the scoop: So let's say they took between 60 and 90 hours. Let's split that in the middle. Let's kind of give you an average of that. So 75 hours. 2,800 line items for 75 hours, say at $100 an hour. So these accounting firms are probably charging out 100. In fact, I've actually talked to someone, and they said they would charge out 200, 300, 400 an hour to do this kind of work. So this number could actually even be higher. Who knows, right? $100 an hour, that's $7,500. Now, at 28 hours for $7,500, our costs associated with this would have been maybe $100. So it's 28 hours and $7,500. So long story short, you're in essence increasing your per hour rate to $267.86 an hour. Now, if you're a bookkeeper making $20, $30 an hour, let's say, $25 an hour, all of a sudden doing something like this, you are 10xing your hourly wage. That has a huge impact on your lifestyle. And once again, you're doing it in less time. Here's where you can start to focus. So if you did do this in 20 hours, let's say, for something like this, hypothetical, let's say everything's kind of equal in this universe, you could do 5 or 6 of these a month. If you're doing 5 of these a month, your monthly revenue is now up to $37,000, almost $38,000. You're almost making $500,000 a year just by going after the CRA audits. Now, here's what I would do if I were in your shoes. If you know any accounting firms, and typically if someone is getting a CRA audit, what's one of the first things they do? Well, they may call their bookkeeper. A lot of times they'll call their accountant and say, hey, I'm getting audited. What you can do is approach accounting firms and say, hey, I would love to do this for you. I've got a process that will get it to you extra fast. You don't have to cut your costs down on this, but what you do is you say, I'll get you this stuff extra fast so you could just deal with the CRA. So instead of spending 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 3.5 weeks trying to pull this info together, we'll get it done for you in a relatively, in less than half a week here, and get the information to you so that you can actually interface with the CRA and do what you're supposed to do. So huge opportunities there. Now, here's even better. I talk to people and say, you know what? Why should you do the scanning and all the grunt work? Hire someone to do it. The average bookkeeper, according to payscale.com in Canada, makes $19 per hour. 28 hours times 19 an hour is $532. Take that 7,500 less 532. Now you've got your profitability up to $6,968, and you're putting minimal effort into this. So you have a huge opportunity to go after this market space. And once again, I'll tell you what, there's more that should have been added into this. It comes from a presentation. If you go on to bookkeepingautomation.com and go into our vlog and search on CRA or CRA audits, you'll see the full presentation where I go through and show you 5 tips that you can use to ramp this kind of business up for you. So huge opportunity there. So that's the one opportunity. The next one is my bookkeeping and accounting marketing tips. So once again, I said at the beginning, sorry, I'm just reading here. Sounds like you should get a new line of work, Chris, bookkeeper. Yeah, I hear you. We do bookkeeping in certain circumstances. I'll open the kimono a bit and tell you that we do bookkeeping in certain circumstances. But it's most times we look for bookkeepers to partner with. So if anyone wants to partner with us, here's an opportunity. Call me. Don't call me now because I'm sitting on a webinar, but call me and I'll talk to you about that. So I told you this presentation wasn't going to be available for a replay. It is. I'm going to put it on this site. If you go to bit.ly/BA_tips, so the B and the A has to be capitalized and the T has to be capitalized as well. If you go here, then what you need to do is you can enroll for free. I've got tons of tips and tricks. I've got recordings of past webinars. I've got a whole bunch of different things. Like I say, over 6 hours. This is growing all the time, right? I'm adding an hour to 2 hours every month in here. So there's a bunch of information that you can get when you do this. Anyways, long story short, we're about 40 minutes into it. First thing I have to say is thank you very much for showing up. This is the last slide. Hopefully you gleaned enough information on that you can understand. If you leverage a platform like Bookkeeping Automation, you're going to reduce your time, you're going to increase your profitability, and there is a way to get your clients to do a lot of the work for you. You literally start to automate this whole process and you fundamentally change your whole practice. Now, once again, it doesn't necessarily have to be bookkeeping automation that you use. There are other platforms out there as too. There's other things that you can use to help your clients out and make things better for them. So anyways, long story short, give me a call. You want to find out about bookkeeping automation, how we can help you. You want to sign up for a free trial. You got anything, you just want to talk, you're lonely, whatever, give me a call. 403-630-1243. And you can always reach out to me, chris.hamilton@entermyinvoice.com. Just to let you know, Bookkeeping Automation and entermyinvoice.com, they're the same platform, just that entermyinvoice.com is for commercial one-off clients. Bookkeeping Automation is for bookkeepers and accounting firms that have to handle multiple databases, but they do in essence the exact same thing. So feel free to reach out to me. You know what? I am so grateful that you would give me almost 3/4 of an hour of your time to learn this stuff. I really hope that it was valuable for you and that it is going to make a difference in your life. And like I say, give us a try, 30-day free trial, see if it'll work for you, see how it will do everything. I know if you're in the middle of the throes of tax season and stuff like that, you don't want to muck around with things. So wait until May. More than happy to do that for you in the May timeframe as well. So I don't know if I have any other questions. Are there any other questions that anyone has in regards to this? I think our next, by the way, presentation, I got to work through it, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to walk through how to transform your bookkeeping and accounting practice, similar to kind of what we talked about today, but a little bit, we're going to throw some more details in there. And I'm going to get John Leishman, my business partner, to come in and talk about that. And I'll give you an example why. John owns Geeks on the Way. It's an IT outsourcing firm. John took his company from 40 offices down to a completely virtual company with no offices in less than a year. And he has like 40, 50, 60 people working for him, all virtual. So long story short is there is a way to streamline your practice, start digitizing things, start bringing things online, a whole bunch of different things. Long story short, there's a huge opportunity for you out in that market right now. So doesn't look like I have any other questions. If you're having troubles, if you're trying to access that bookkeeping marketing tips, reach out to me and I'll send you the link as well. Like I say, no replay of this. Go sign up for the marketing tips, and you'll get it. You'll get it there. So there we go. If I don't have any questions, that's great. Thank you very much for your time. And until next time, we'll go from there. Thanks a lot. Bye.